Hello everyone, I'm Nikki Carry-On, and today I'm going to be giving you some unsolicited advice. Why? Because I was on Reddit being a Redditor a few days ago, and I saw this old post that I made in r/mental health. This post is a little less than a year old, so keep that in mind. And before I read you this post that I made, I want to give you a quick trigger warning because it does talk about some seriously dark stuff. I was in a very dark place when I made this, and of course that's why we're here today, to talk about being hopeful and to talk about not giving up. So I'm hoping reading this to you guys will help you get a better understanding of just how far I have come regarding feeling like I was at the end of my life and then giving myself the chance, as you should as well, to grow and learn and create a better life for yourself. So this is what it says. I've been thinking some serious dark thoughts. A lot of it has to do with me being spineless and being manipulated by somebody that has had me under their thumb since I was a teenager. I can't get away from my groomer. I just feel like giving up. I'm convinced this is the end. Does anyone have any advice on how to stop feeling this way? I feel like a nasty, ugly little doll being pulled by strings to dance. I kind of feel like I'm already dead. I'm 22 and I just feel tired, worn down. I'm just being perfectly honest with you, brutally honest. I was at the brink of... But me reading this as I am, as I exist today, really shook me to my core. This was less than 1 year ago, and I was genuinely going to end my life because I thought nothing could ever change. I know a lot of people have felt like this before, and unfortunately, a lot of people have also gone through with making that commitment and just ending it. And that's why I'm here today, to possibly help somebody who's in that place. Because I wish that at that time I had gotten some good old one-on-one advice, okay? Let's try to lighten it up a little bit. It's kind of dark, but I swear, I really hope this video will leave you with a positive feeling and not this. I'm just gonna tell you right now, don't give up, do not submit to your situation or your mental health. And I'm gonna go over several categories that I think will help you in just about any scenario, because I feel like the reason why people are hopeless are connected to these different subjects right here. Of course, feeling better, of course, actually having hope is easier said than done, and I'm not gonna be the end-all be-all solution to you being hopeless. I can't be, and I won't be, but I think this advice is kind of necessary to put out in the world. All right, so first things first. You don't know shit about shit. You probably don't know what you're talking about, and everything you may know could be a lie, okay? And I'm not saying this to freak you out, and I'm not saying this to sound like a crazy conspiracy theorist. I'm gonna tell you my personal experience with something that I grew up my whole life feeling like was a fact that was subconsciously making me depressed, okay? I'm saying this to make you question your own toxic beliefs and judgments about yourself. So my personal example is, I used to think that it was hard to have a fun time without drinking alcohol. Why did I think this? Because growing up, I repeatedly saw others turn to alcohol and drugs to solve their problems, deal with pain, deal with misfortune, and overall just supplement happiness. So then it didn't help from the ages 17 to 22, I was in a relationship and lived with my groomer who was an alcoholic. He told me that he couldn't imagine hanging out with his friends or going to a theme park or doing much of anything without drinking. I genuinely had accepted this as the objective truth that nobody ever actually had fun if they were sober. So how did I realize that this was a poisonous lie that was contributing to my poor mental health? I eventually found people that I actually had a connection with and actually had engaging conversations and meaningful activities with. I also figured out what I actually enjoy doing. For example, I love going out on hikes, I love swimming, I love listening to music. None of these involve alcohol. So it was odd one day when I just woke up and I realized that this belief had been completely extinguished. I shit you not, to age 23, I never even gave it a second thought. So for you, it might not be that alcohol equals having fun. That's like poisoning your mental health. It could be something else. It could be a variety of things. Maybe your idea that you've accepted in your brain as objective truth is I'm ugly or no one will ever love me. Something like that, which is just not true. But it's hard to see that if for years and years throughout your childhood, you've been neglected. So what I really want you to do is dissect these negative thoughts that you've had about yourself, these negative things that you do to yourself, write them down and really think about if they are actually factually true. I can almost guarantee you that most of them, if not all of them, are completely just kind of lies that you've accepted over time. The next section that I want to talk about is vulnerability. Vulnerability, baby. So I hope what I'm about to say is cohesive with the last thing I talked about, and I hope this all makes sense in the end. But you may be vulnerable to the toxicity around you that is contributing to your hopelessness and poor mental health. For example, it was easy for me to accept this idea that you have to drink to have fun because I had subconsciously already accepted it after years of my childhood where I had witnessed my sister abusing alcohol and other things. Not to mention that my dad quite literally died from drinking too much. He died of liver failure. So if alcohol was literally worth dying for, then there must have been some truth to this notion, or at least that's what I thought. Corny analogy incoming. Here it comes. It's a corny analogy. Watch out. I imagine this idea as if it was like a seed being planted in my mind by my relatives, and then that seed being watered by my ex-boyfriend. The plant that grew from that seed then developed dead leaves, and dead leaves leach nutrients from plants. Removing those dead leaves is the only way to actually allow the nutrients to go to the alive parts of the plant. The parts of the plant, or you, that are still healthy. But, before you go regretting your whole life because you feel like you've wasted all this time dwelling or believing in some type of toxic thought that wasn't even true, remember this. Dead leaves that are removed can no longer hurt the plant. And instead, those dead leaves can be used as they decompose in the plant's soil. So that whole concept brings me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is time. Time. Time is something that most people obsess over. For a good reason, right? I mean, I also fall victim to feeling like I'm falling behind in life and that I'm not moving fast enough. Time is valuable. We get it. We've heard that 5,000 times. But just once, I'd love for somebody to be like, yeah, and what? I don't think any time is truly lost. Whatever it is that you're doing or not doing that is making you unhappy has served a purpose or is serving its purpose. And it's really simple, but everybody needs that reminder for you not to do whatever it was that made you unhappy again, if that makes sense. Like, how's about this? Okay, there's dudes that are like 99 years old. Shocking, I know. But they're out there, and there's 99.5-year-olds that still haven't realized their mistakes and are gonna literally die. They haven't found self-realization and they haven't done anything about their wasted time. Meanwhile, you're in your 20s, 30s, possibly 40s. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know my audience demographic anymore, but I'm just gonna assume you're somewhere on that spectrum or younger. But you're relatively young and you're over here thinking, I've wasted my life. It's over because of mistakes you've made or wrongs that have been done to you by other people. The fact that you're even here right now saying, I need to change something about my life, there is something that is making me unhappy, I want to be better, is amazing. Like, congratulations if you've come to this point, because there's plenty of people out there that live in denial and never try to fix it or even come to the conclusion, hey, this is why I'm unhappy. So I'm aggressively telling you right now to give yourself a pat on the back for even realizing that. And yes, time is valuable, and yes, it hurts to know that you've wasted time doing this or that or not doing this, but and what? And what? Like, let's go. You are alive. It is time, wink wink, to move on. This brings me to my next subject, which is depression. I can't say that I know what it is like to be neurotypical. Much of my childhood was traumatic and I remember very little of it. And then from that point forward, through junior high and high school and beyond, I have always experienced anxiety and depression. And although you can only do so much to counteract the symptoms of that, like of course the chemicals in your brain are gonna do as they may, here's some subcategories of things I think we do have a little bit of control over on the outside, of course. Once again, we cannot control the chemicals in our mind. There's only so much we can do. Number one, allowing yourself to accept a positive thought about yourself. I don't know if it's just me, but every time I catch myself thinking something good, there's a part of my mind that wants to reject that idea. It seems like there's a little voice going, no, don't go thinking that. And it's almost like a defense mechanism. It's like if I accept, hey, I look good today, or I did something good today, I like what I did. Number two, and this is honestly just part of number one. I'm sorry, I'm not a licensed therapist. This is just stuff that I have noticed about myself and I think could help other people. Once again, I'm sorry. You have to allow yourself to have a good day. Halfway through a day of feeling good or inspired, etc., I find myself getting scared or somber at the prospect of those good feelings going away. Tomorrow or the next day or whenever my brain decides to attack me next, I find myself dreading that I will have to go back to that. Do what you can to ignore that lame, stupid voice in your mind that's telling you that. If you're having a good day, if you feel good that day, trust it. You don't need to second guess every good feeling that you have. In fact, for me, every time I overthink about how I'm having a good day, I give myself anxiety and kind of ruin that good day thinking about how, oh, when's the next time I'm gonna feel anxious or depressed? If you live in that perpetual state of fear, you're not really allowing yourself or doing yourself justice and just giving yourself that time to feel good. You deserve it. The next category I want to talk about is friendship. Friendship. It takes a long time to meet friends, and that's okay. So if you don't have very many close friends, I want you to just take a deep breath and give yourself a hug. I know it can get hard, and I know it can get lonely. I myself have very few friends, and even fewer that I would consider close. But part of the reason for that is that I am not accepting anybody into my life that isn't going to be healthy for me to be around. But my point is that I went without having friends for a good damn near 5-6 years. And it hurt. It took a lot out of me to not be able to develop those relationships with people. And at times I still feel like it's really hard to make friends, especially when you're an adult. But I think you need to give yourself time and give yourself a chance to get to those relationships that are stimulating and good and healthy for you. And I also want to riddle you this, and I'm guilty of this myself. Has anybody reached out to you recently that you have completely ignored because you're depressed? And even if somebody hasn't reached out to you recently, it could also help to try to reach out to somebody else, even if you don't know them very well, and even if the conversation doesn't lead anywhere life-changing. I always look at it as like good practice. I feel accomplished even when I try, even when I send somebody a hello, how are you? Or whatever. Something less formal than that. Probably like, bruh, what are you doing? What having little to no friends over the course of years has actually taught me, though, is to have a relationship with myself. One that is comparable to a friendship. I maintain this friendship that I have with myself by going on walks by myself, journaling about my day, journaling about my thoughts. In an entry in my journal, I will literally reply to myself and laugh at what I've written. And I know that sounds kind of insane, but it's just oddly therapeutic. I always look at it like this. The time that I spend by myself is either spent feeling good and feeling creative or suffering. And neither one is a waste of time because both of those things are giving myself time to think about things and kind of vent through my experiences. The next subject I want to talk about is a very obvious one: romance. Romance makes a lot of people feel hopeless. That's obvious. Like, bitch, you don't even get a title card for this one. If you are in a relationship, are your expectations too high? 99.9% of the time, no, your expectations are not too high, and you probably just want to be treated nicely and like a human. I feel like love is one of the easiest things to feel hopeless about. But I realize now that love really isn't the reason for hopelessness, at least not for me. The real reason is the lack thereof it. If your romantic relationship is causing you to feel hopeless, or like getting what you actually need out of the relationship is impossible, then I would say that it's not love, it's the lack of love. Like if you actively cannot talk about your feelings or how you feel with your partner at all, then it's just doomed. If you've already tried to address that and it's not working, then that's the lack of love. And I would say move on. I know that's like easier said than done, but there's my tidbit about the romance part, okay? And if you are alone and you're seeking romance, I would say that's great, but don't settle for the lack of love, only for actual love. Sorry, I know this is a really clumsy add-in to this video. I had a whole debate in my head for like a week if I should even post this, which is really ironic considering the whole point of this video is to not give up. So here we go. Let's fucking go, NIKKI. Okay. Over the course of the week that I had that debate in my brain if I should post this, I had another topic that I wanted to bring up to you guys, and that is forgiveness. Forgiveness has really impacted my relationship with myself and my mental health. And I know everybody's situation is different and not everybody is ready to try to forgive whoever wronged them, whatever that wrong might be. But personally, I've come to a point where I cannot any longer hold on to hatred for people. Like, it's simply too much. Like, it's just too much energy. It's too much stress. And those people really aren't worth burning that energy out of me. If I held on to all the anger that accumulated over the years from people doing bad things to me, then I would be dead. I would be the freaking Queen of England. And by the way, I'm not about to tell you to forgive people for some religious reason or for some like otherworldly insight. I'm telling you this for the most obvious reason, which is yourself. For your own sake, holding on to hate for somebody is just not good. Like, even on a subconscious level, like, I've realized over the course of the last few months that even if I just didn't think about whatever had happened to me in the past, I was still holding on to like this hate inside me for people, especially for my ex-boyfriend, who is basically the final boss in forgiveness for me, okay? I've forgiven everybody in my life. I've forgiven my mom for being absent. I've forgiven my dad for abandoning me and other things that he did. I've forgiven my old friends for neglecting me and treating me like an outsider. I've forgiven everybody, and it's because once I get past my thought process that they did this to me and that makes me feel awful, I start to kind of think about why they are the way they are, and they may or may not ever change. And like, that's fine on them because like their karma is gonna go their way and I'm gonna live in peace over here, okay? I'm choosing to forgive them so that I don't have to think about all of this all the time. I was manipulated and taken advantage of in every way by my ex-boyfriend. And that's why it might surprise you to know that I actually forgive him. And if I didn't, I would be sitting here crying and keeled over every day. And that's just my personal experience. You do not have to forgive somebody who did something very terrible for you, but just think about it because it might actually help. Like, I've realized that me holding on to all that hatred for him was literally only damaging me. Like, personally, I don't think that is affecting him, okay? He is who he is for reasons, and I understand those reasons. I've decided to think of the people in my life who have done me wrong in a certain way, and that certain way is knowing why they're fucked up, basically. And I know that's like a really hard thing to do. And like I said, he's basically the final boss of forgiveness for me. I don't want to see him ever again or talk to him or hear from him, okay? But I have forgiven him for my own sake. And because I love myself and because I cherish myself, I am putting that in the past and moving on. And sure, it's not perfect. Sure, I have days where things really get to me or I get triggered by some kind of something about abuse or I see something that reminds me of bad things that happened to me and it's very upsetting and it's hard to deal with. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect solution, but I'm definitely a lot better off now, I think. And on the flip side of the coin, do you need to forgive yourself for something? Okay? Are you holding on to something that you think is your fault? Do you know deep down that you're blaming yourself for something irrational possibly, and that is affecting you every day without you even realizing it? My personal example for this is that I blamed myself for a lot of bad things that happened to me. I thought everything was my fault. I thought that I could have somehow known better or I could have been smarter, but in reality, it was other people who decided to take advantage of me, and that is their fault. That is their problem, and they are going to deal with the karma that comes with that or what have you. They're going to have to deal with that. I'm choosing to be at peace with myself because I really can't take it anymore. And I feel such a big weight off of my chest, just feeling like cleansed from all this anger that was inside of me. And like, once again, like, everybody's different. This might not be possible for you. This might be possible for you in 10 years. I don't know. With that being said, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for sticking around. It's been a really, really rough year for me, and I've had a lot of these realizations, and I'm just now finally feeling like normal. Whatever that means, okay? And I'm just now putting myself on a schedule and trying to build my life up again and my career and feeling comfortable within myself. And also, just another disclaimer, I'm sorry if none of this is applicable to you. I know there's a lot of complicated situations out there. With that being said, if you do want to support me, you can check out my commentary channel, which is NIKKI Carry On. You can check out my podcast that I have with my best friend, Anahea, where we interview super awesome creators such as Noah Samson and Nick Is Not Green. We have all sorts of really awesome people on the podcast. You can also check out my other podcast, which is a video podcast. I know, why do I have two podcasts? This one's for fun, okay? And it is really fun. It's just me and my boyfriend discussing random stuff and music. And lastly, I've been streaming a lot on Twitch, so check me out. My name is Nikki from Twitch. I love you guys all so much, and I would love to hear your feedback from this video. You can either comment down below or send me a message on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.